Hey guys, it's Kuzi here for EasyPvP.com. This video is for DPS powertechs and vanguards, but it's particularly aimed at the advanced prototype or tactic specs. The aim of this video is to address the two most common "what do I do when" complaints queries that I get from people on the forums. So I'm going to show you how to defeat healers and stealth classes in a PvP environment. For information on rotation, gearing, spec, and all the basic stuff, please see JustBody's class video on EasyPvP.com or refer to my guide on the forums under PowerTech. So let's start with the healers. First of all, it's extremely difficult to kill a good healer in a 1v1 situation, so don't get frustrated. The most important point in attacking healers is to not use your two offensive cooldowns, explosive fuel or your shoulder cannons, until after they have used what I call their big cooldown. This big cooldown is different for each class, obviously. For Sorc Sage, it's their Force Barrier. For Mercs Commandos, it's the Energy or Reactive Shield. And for Operative Scoundrels, it's their 8-second CC, the Flashbang. If you blow your offensive cooldowns too early, you'll have nothing left in the tank to finish the healers off with, and they'll simply outheal your damage. So apply your dot and monitor it on the healer, and keep applying it as all the healing classes can cleanse the retractable blade gut dot. Every time the dot is cleansed, your next move should be to reapply it. Go through your normal rotation on the healer, including using your interrupt and your stuns to stop their casted heals, and basically to get them to use their big cooldown to save themselves. So now let's look specifically at operatives. Don't use your CC breaker on a operative 4-second stun, because they'll simply have an 8-second stun right afterwards that you'll have to eat, and all the damage and pressure you've put on them will amount to nothing. When the operative flashbang hits you, use your CC breaker straight away, and if they're on, say, less than 70% of health, you can try and burn them by using your two offensive cooldowns. Again, keep the dot on them at all times so they cannot stealth away, and if they try and escape, place your stealth scan in a reasonable guess of where you think they went. Also, you need to know the order priority of heals to interrupt on the operative. I often see people interrupt diagnostic scan, which is a complete waste of time. It's basically a trick from the operative or scoundrel to get you to waste your interrupt, and then they'll follow up by casting Colto Infusion or Colto Injection, which is actually the heal that you're supposed to be interrupting. So moving on to Sorcs, it's the same thing again. Use your normal rotation on them and keep them under pressure. Keep applying your dot if they cleanse it until they use their Force Barrier, their big cooldown. Make sure you grapple them back if they try and force speed away. Once they use their barrier, you can start DPSing other targets around them, because obviously you can't kill them through the barrier. But do keep a close eye on them, and when the barrier ends, you can pop your offensive cooldowns on them and blow them up. So your order priority to interrupt on a Sorc is number 1, Innovate. You want to interrupt that as early as possible. Dark Infusion, interrupt that as late as possible, because effectively you're negating healing for 2.5 seconds if you can interrupt it around 2.2 seconds or something. And number 3, Revivification, and 4, Dark Heal. Mercs, again, same concept. Put them under pressure with your normal rotation. Don't break the CC on their 4-second stun, because they can actually instant cast you to an 8-second stun. This is very annoying and ruins your hard work as well. So once they pop their shield, unless you have 1 or 2 other people attacking them with you, it's going to be pointless, so you have to attack another target, similar to the Sorc. If they are low, you can probably stun them through it, but you can't obviously interrupt their heals when their shield's active, so as a general rule, just don't bother attacking them. When their shield ends, you are free to unleash all your offensive cooldowns on them, and you'll probably be able to blow them up. The Mercs are more reliant on casting than the other two classes, so it's important you consistently interrupt their casts through stuns, grenades, grapples, and interrupts, etc. So now on to one of the biggest complaints from powertechs and vanguards in PvP: how to defeat stealth class opposition. So after talking to a whole bunch of people on the forums, I realized it's not so much of an issue with the dot specs of those classes, but more of an issue with the burst specs, such as Deception and Concealment. People often complain that 50% of their health is gone before they even get a chance to react, and I want to tell you that that's unusual to lose 50% of your health before you even get a chance to react, but it can happen, and if it does happen like that, don't panic, just follow this guide, and remember, even exceptional players lose 1v1 sometimes. How to beat Sins and Shadows. These are the things you must do. Do not waste your cooldowns, such as your stuns or your offensive cooldowns, explosive fuel, or shoulder cannon, before the assassin or shadow uses their immunity to tech damage cooldown. As soon as they hit their immunity to tech damage cooldown, that's resilience or force shroud, it's a good time to start kiting and use explosive dart or thermal detonator if you're running pyro. If explosive dart and thermal det are on cooldown, you can use your basic attack or even unload. The white damage attacks go through the immunity detect damage cooldown. Never use your CC breaker on the initial knockdown, and try not to use it on low slash either. Only use your CC breaker on the 4-second hard stun. Remember, keep your dot active on the assassin or shadow at all times, and once force shroud ends, to reapply it instantly. As soon as you get out of the initial stun, use energy shield straight away to absorb the incoming burst damage. If you foresee the initial attack coming, you can use your hydraulic override, which will stop the knockdown from both the operative and the assassin. That will go a long way to winning you the duel. You must wait until the Sin has used Force Shroud until you use your offensive cooldowns, otherwise you risk wasting significant DPS. Once they've used their big cooldown, you're free to open up on them with all your stuns and your offensive cooldowns. Up until that point, it's all about minimizing damage through kiting and your shields. They'll most likely hit Shroud, I'd say, either straight away after the knockdown, or the 4-second stun, or 2 to 3 global cooldowns into the fight. So in those 2 to 3 global cooldowns, I suggest putting retractable blade on them, then rocket punishing them, and then rail shot straight away. These are big damage moves that all have low cooldowns, and they can't really be wasted. I know rail shot does have a long cooldown, but you can't waste it on the immunity detect damage. So that's why I suggest putting it in there as soon as possible, because it won't activate if they hit that, and so you always have your rail shot, you won't waste it. Save Emulate for the burn phase after their immunity detect damage cooldown, and it's better to have that with explosive fuel because it gets the 30% crit bonus, and you don't want to accidentally use that during Force Shroud. Again, keep your dot active on them. If they use Phase Walk, you can use the range to your advantage. Throw explosive dart on them, rail shot them. You can even use your basic attack because they can't attack you from that far unless they hit Recklessness and Force Lightning. So you will out DPS them if they try and fight you from range, so you can keep them there. You don't need to close the gap if they want to try and phase walk a long way away from you. Again, try and catch them with your stealth scan if they try and exit combat, and please put your dot on them. That will win you the health most of the time. If they do get away from you, just try and regenerate your health straight away. How do you beat operatives and scoundrels? In my opinion, they are much easier to beat than shadows, except for the fact they can flashbang and can heal. Most likely during the fight against the DPS operative, they will flashbang and try and heal themselves, so that's okay. You can still win the duel if you use the cooldowns correctly. Use the same techniques against them as the Sin, except this time use your stuns and offensive cooldowns at any time during the fight. This makes it a technically easier fight, I guess, because you don't actually have to pay attention to their cooldowns. All you have to do is pay attention to reapplying the dot. Don't use your CC break on the initial knockdown, but do use it on the second stun and activate your energy shield and hydraulic override instantly. You must keep the dot on them at all times, and as soon as they use evasion, you must reapply the dot. I'd say the majority of decent or good operatives will vanish 3 seconds after using evasion because it cleanses them of all the effects. So as soon as they hit evasion, the first thing you do is drop your normal rotation and just reapply the dot. This will go a long way to stop them getting a second hidden strike on you and potentially mitigating like 6k damage and a knockdown. So be ready to use your stealth scan to stop them from getting away. Once again, have a good guess of where they're going and be ready for that. Another important tool to use against DPS classes is your hydraulic override. So both the assassin burst DPS is heavily reliant on maul, and their operative is heavily reliant on backstab and hidden strike. Obviously backstab when they're out of stealth. So if you're good at kiting, you can waste a whole bunch of their time trying to get behind you, backstabbing and mauling you, and I've been told that's really annoying. And one quite good operative told me that they just can't kill me because they can't get behind me. So if you're good at kiting, you'll win the fight. If anyone's struggling with any other classes, let me know, and I'll make a tutorial. And just remember, you can beat every class 1v1 if you're good enough, and a little bit of luck goes your way. Thanks guys, good luck.